What is going on, guys? Just getting the stream started. Looks like we're live. Bubba's back. What's going on? Loving your videos recently. Much appreciated. Thank you. Welcome, Bubba. What's going on, NATO? I'd have to. We'll see if this link works, but there's the Hangouts link. You know, it's always a little questionable how well it works at first. So if anyone wants to join, click it and let me know if it works before I get my hands wet. What's going on, Al? Bubba, Dano, Dr. Welsh. One stream to the next day. Stream hopping. Alright, so I'm doing this by the tank today because I have some corals that have been slowly STNing, and pretty much every day I look at it, I'm thinking, I wonder if I should probably frag that before it gets any worse. But it keeps creeping slowly worse and worse. So I think it's gonna have to come. Passionate Reef, welcome. Long time no see to you too, Steve. Nasty Nemo, what's going on, buddy? Thank you, thank you. Much appreciated. Reef Keeper, hello, hello. What's going on, Sean? It's getting a full house in here already. Hey, what's going on, Reefer Jones? Yeah, it's kind of funny. Normally I'm in the office. I haven't actually been in front of the reef tank for a while. Before I actually do anything, give you guys a quick little preview. What caused the STN? I have some theories, which I can tell you in a minute. I can't say 100% for sure, but a couple products I added to the tank that are bacteria-based products, I think for whatever reason they shouldn't have affected anything, but I'm assuming that's kind of what it was. So I got my red planet, this big guy, I don't even can remember what that one's called, and the blue matrix. And those are the main three that are having an issue. So those are the ones I'm gonna sadly frag. I hate to do it, but I tried taking super gluing and super gluing over the edge of the tissue, and it did kind of slow it down, but it's still happening. So when you are having corals that are RTNing or STNing, sadly, probably the only way to save it is to chop it off and then save the good bits. But the rest of the tank is happy. It's the ironic thing is when I dumped most of that stuff in over here, and the few corals over here is where it's happening. So can't say for sure, but I speculate it's kind of related to it. Aside from that, everything else in the tank is doing pretty good, looking happy. You can see my nice big tower in the middle. That's for other than the rock on top with my chalice. That actually got a frag soon because it's growing over the edge, but that's a big chunk of my nano tank aquascape, and then I got another piece in my return pump in there. There's the other half of my aquascape for the nano, so it's probably about 70% submerged and a little chunk over there. So I've been just trying to pre-cycle everything so that once I get the nano rolling, I can get everything set up pretty quickly. Okay, let's get the camera back. Let's check the chat. Looking really nice, thanks, Anno. Which bacteria did you use? So I can't 100% for sure say it was this, but I used that Fritz 460 sludge remover. Now I know Paul, Reefing Worldwide, he uses it all the time and swears by it and it works great for him. So I can't really say for sure, but that's the only thing I've changed recently. Still sucks either way. But that's my partial speculation, but there's no way to 100% say for sure, right? Which is so many little things going on in the tank. Good evening, Haley. I still have one dry hand. If anyone wants to join Hangouts, that may or may not work. Let me know if it doesn't. So today, I gotta find my fraggers. So if you guys haven't used these bone cutters, they're the nice easy way to kind of frag stuff. Just gonna pop up the chat so I can see it. There we go. So fragging things, bone cutters, ideally get the ones that are coated so you don't have to worry about it rusting as easily, but always rinse these off after. Kind of the nice, easier way to frag corals. Now on Mr. Rico's stream earlier too, he was saying he normally will glue it right back in the same spot, so I might actually try that. I'll probably use like super glue or a bit of epoxy over the previous dead area, but I mean if the tissue's gone, it's probably fine. That maybe what we'll try to do today. What else we got in the chat? ReefDudes, are you running Miracle Mud? Yes, I am. I have Miracle Mud in the sump. You've heard that a couple times from Fritch Sludge Remover. Good to know, Reefkeeper. Good to know. Steve, much appreciated for the proper link. Encountered an error. Link doesn't work. Of course, that'd be too easy. Okay, let me try something else quickly. I'm just gonna see if the other chat we're just on still works, and if it is, we'll try that one. But on the plus side, it actually did get rid of all my green cyan tank, so it did what I was intended it for, just a couple other side issues. So I'm just gonna try one more new hangout and see if that works. Video call. I don't know if it's something with my account, but the hangouts always seem to have an issue for some reason. Okay, let's try this one. Did you add Miracle Mud before or after you set up the tank? I added Miracle Mud probably about a month and a half ago now. Still not working. Yeah, so I've done that a little while ago. Never used it for my life up till about a month ago. What type of coral are you fragging? I'm fragging a few corals. I got a blue matrix, I got my red planet, and I have whatever, I think it's a tricolor acro or something along those lines. Those are the few. So let me try one other thing. I'm gonna just rejoin the old call, so I apologize to whoever. Nope, doesn't let me. Can nitrates be high in your tank and look great? Yes, they definitely can. My nitrates are probably like 15 to 30 range on the test kit that I have, and it always looks good, so it's hard. I never really had an issue with that one. Just received Radeon 15 Gen 4 Pros. Nice light. Those are pretty snazzy. There you go. I got the chat nice and big, so I should be able to read it. So this really pains me to frag these guys, but you gotta do what you gotta do. First one's... I know, right? Video encountered an error. Yeah, it's kind of a pain. I don't know, is there any other, besides Hangouts, is there any good voice chat things that you guys have used? Video ended because of an error. Let's try. Yeah, the Google Hangouts is super buggery, at least for me. I don't know if you guys have issues with it, but I'm having this a lot lately. I even just formatted my laptop as well today, so it's legitly a brand new one. What if I do video call? Okay, one more we'll try this and see if it works. If it doesn't work, then I'm going back to just trying to do some fragging. My nitrate tester's API, rest is Hannah. Yep, so honestly, my nitrates have always been a bit higher, and it has been an issue. The corals, the tank looks great, so hasn't really been too much of a concern. Larry the Lionfish, welcome. Now, for any of you guys in the Facebook group, I'm just going to post the link in there and see if because it doesn't jump through all the YouTube redirects, if that makes a difference. So if anyone's in the Facebook group, try it there, and we'll see if it works. Just gonna post. All right, guys, so anyone in the Facebook book group, give it a whirl and see if it works. Why won't you post? Dun, dun, dun. All right, so there we go. Okay, post to the Facebook page. That might ask you to sign in. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Worth a try. And chat's back. City. Nice. Alright, so the first one I'm fragging up is called Blue Matrix. Very cool. It's kind of a millie-ish looking coral. Super pretty guy. I'm probably going to glue, this one's kind of a nice purpley blue. So I'm going to probably glue most of these back in the same general area once I get a bunch of the good arms off. Now when you are fragging, you always want to try and frag at least, I'd say, about shoot for closer to a ½ inch above the infected area. Just because you're kind of saving the good tissue and to an extent, hopefully not stressing out because it doesn't have the issue tissue that's down below it. The part that sucks is when you have to chop it off and there's multiple nice branches together. It's kind of the painful part. Flip side, I might get a few nice frags for the nano. Okay, got all these. So here is, if you guys can kind of see that. So the whole center was the part that was RTN and it's kind of working its way outwards. Even on the bottom. So this one's, the top half is fine, the bottom's pretty white, but I mean that could just be lack of light. So either way, I'm going to frag this one a bit higher up. I'll throw out my sump just to see how this one does. The better chunks will glue back in, just in case if it comes back, you never know. Now for regluing stuff, generally we'll just use like an aquascaping putty. What's going on, SC? Wait, just figure something out. You'll get nitrates from your whole tank. Yeah, nitrates are everywhere. I really just use Chaeto to kind of deal with it. None of it's been super high that's really been an issue. Putty, I usually use the stuff, the aquascaping putty. It works fairly well. And it's kind of purple, so it blends it in, which is kind of nice. Super handy shelf, old glass lid from one of my previous innovative marine tanks. Makes a nice little kind of shelf to hold all your stuff as you're fragging. Another thing I should try and do, I haven't done this before, but I'm going to try using Revive as kind of a coral dip afterwards, just to hopefully, if there's any bacteria on it, hopefully kill it and kind of keep it a bit happier. So normally the stuff, I've used this Coral RX. Revive's good for if you're dipping new corals to kill any pests. So this one's 4 capfuls per gallon. That's a liter, so we'll do a little less than a capful. Half a capful should be good. And we'll use this as kind of our coral dip to hopefully refresh it. Some kind of frag saw. No, you don't need a saw. Saws, ideally, like if I'm fragging a chalice, it'd be nice to have a proper saw. But I've also seen people just use snippers on it too. It's a little harsher on the coral. Wet saw will give you more of a nicer clean cut, so it's less stress to the coral, so they're good to have. But again, they're also a couple $100 versus $20 for a pair of fraggers. Just turned the nano into a, oh no. And the stand broke lots of vermin snail shells. Hey Ed, quick question. Your Red Sea tank, is the pump on it very loud or is it fairly quiet? I'm curious to see, because I'll hopefully have mine fairly soon. Oh no! I broke one of the curls I really liked out of this one. That sucks. That was a, I don't know if it's a green slime or what it is, but super nice one. That might be a nano frag. Now, do you guys think that STN has anything to tank maturity? I think most of the time, if it's so STN, slow tissue necrosis, RTN, rapid tissue necrosis. So if it's happening very slowly over like many days or weeks, that's likely STN. If it's RTN, it could literally happen within a day or two. Oh, thanks, Ed. Appreciate that. So he said it's pretty quiet. So I don't think it necessarily has anything to do with tank maturity. I think it's personally, I feel it's some kind of a bacterial infection or something that's annoying the coral and causing it to either freak out or drop its skin or reseed. I don't think anyone really knows what fully causes it. I've tried to research it quite a bit, and there doesn't seem to be any clear-cut answer. All right, now this is the one that makes me sad because this is a big, beautiful piece. Now, looking on the bottom, I may be able to frag this all as one big chunk if I get it high enough just before the join. This is a huge branch. But yeah, I know you're asking about if you need a saw. Like, I literally have half of my frags are accidental from one of my tanks smacking it, so. Alright, so that cleaned fairly nicely. I might do super glue on the base just to seal it all, but that's another chunk of a nice one. I think it's a tricolor Valletta, maybe? I may be wrong on that one, but I'm kind of terrible for remembering the names of most of these. Okay, another nice big chunk, so hopefully these guys will be saved from the massacre of the STN. See, when they say something such as foam pad under bioballs, a nitric factory, when they say it's a nitric factory, basically what they mean is it will trap the detritus in the particles, and then that's going to break down within there, then that will create nitrates. So usually if there's like a sponge filter in a reef tank, that's usually what happens. SC Reefer, super chat, 20 bucks. Thank you. Much appreciated. That is very kind. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yeah, SC, awesome. Thank you very much, buddy. That's very much appreciated. And I hate to say it, but my computer died the other day, so hopefully I'm working on saving up for a new one to get it fixed and rolling again, get back to the fancy live streams, but we gotta do. So should I remove the Purigen and ChemiPure and run off the reactor? ChemiPure actually works pretty well. In all my nanos in the past, I've always used ChemiPure Blue. It's a carbon with a phosphate remover all in one, and it's worked out very well. I already bought a couple things I'm going to be using in the Red Sea Nano, so it's a great, simple, all-in-one bag solution, so I would actually recommend that one. I've used it tons of times in the past without issues. SC Reefer, thank you, buddy. Much appreciated. Good evening, Dev. What's going on, Mr. Michael from Aaron's Aquarium? We are fragging up some corals that were sadly suffering from a little STN, so we are saving what we can. So out of curiosity, how many of you guys have had STN in the recent thing? Usually I've only had an issue with a brand new coral. It generally doesn't happen with corals that have been in the tank for a long time. So this little chunk of red planet. Frag off one of the nicer branches. So if you guys have any other ways to deal with it, I'm really curious to hear. AccuTV, welcome, welcome. If you're on the early stages where you just get a bit of STN, usually another thing you can try, if you super glue the edge of the seam where it's coming off, a lot of times that will seal it and stop it. So it's definitely one good way to kind of try as preventative before you get too crazy with fragging stuff off. And I did do that initially, so that did seem to slow it down. I did it on this big tricolor chunk, and it slowed it down, but it sadly didn't fully stop it. This is the problem. Set up the algae reactor, nice. So I don't want to dip these too long, just have them in there a little bit to try and clear up some of that potential bacteria on it. Now I might try and glue a couple of these back in the same general area, but I'm gonna clean off, see if I can blast that off or something first to make sure it's all clean, and if there's any extra leftover dead flesh, blow that off. One thing Julian's saying, these are great little coral feeders. Usually the fish probably think I'm feeding them when they see this guy, but it's good for blasting off, a bit of flesh off stuff, or if you have any bits of dirt and stuff on the rock, you can blow it off with that pretty easy. So super handy little tool. I've also made my own using just a bit of clear airline, a little bit of acrylic, and a little syringe. So you can even make DIY ones pretty easy, but they're handy little tools. So I'm doing this just because when I glue it back down, I just want to blast off any, that brown stuff that comes over where you have dead flesh or anything else like that. So I'm going to put some epoxy putty down on it first, cover up all the old stuff, and then we're going to glue the new chunk on top of that. Don't you have a second camera? Can we get a wide angle? Yeah, I don't know why it's not in wide angle. I just formatted my laptop, and Lily installed the driver 20 minutes ago. So that may be part of the reason with it. Let's try a bit over here. There, so that one goes. So hopefully that's a little bit better, at least for now. Stonia porcellopora, that's rescued and recovering. So what did you do? Did it start recovering on its own? Another one, actually, when we were talking on the stream earlier, people were saying that they've had semi-success with hydrogen peroxide and doing dips. Now, I've used that for zoas is actually the main thing. And if you give it, zoas are pretty hardy, and they actually respond fairly well to using peroxide and giving it a dip. I haven't tried it with strapped to the ceiling. I haven't tried it with SPS at all. I've only used like Coral X and Revive and those type of ones. If you guys haven't used it, D&D Aquascaping Putty, just mix the two together, it makes it kind of purpley. Works pretty well. Strapped to the ceiling. A ceiling camera would be kind of cool. I'd probably drop it in the tank if I put it up there right now. Probably be trouble. So Aquascaping putty, just keep mixing it until the colors are uniform. Once it is, just pick your spot where you want your coral. So I'm gonna try and get some of this blue matrix back in there. I like most of the spots I had the coral, so I'm gonna try and get them mounted in roughly the same spot. Now I also will try to make sure I have all of the flesh that was cut off into the putty, so none of it's exposed. And literally just jab her into the putty and get her back in there. There. Now one thing too, just kind of keep in mind, if you take a look at the coral, the underside's always a little bit lighter. So just make sure you don't have it completely poking out like that underside's exposed to bright light, because that might be a difference. Ed, you're so kind. Oh, you crack me up. So Mr. Ed always likes to give the opposite person super chat compliments. Thanks, Eddie. And get in there. Another thing too, make sure you give your corals enough space that once they grow, they're not going to be growing into each other. I think this one's already probably a little bit close to that green one, so move a little bit more forward. And hopefully that will grow into a cool colony in the future. So I guess we're going to find out in a couple weeks, but hopefully we save that, the blue matrix. More putty in there. The next one up top. So next we got this guy, which is like a purple or tricolor Valletta, something like that. So I'll give these guys a quick dip. I should probably be rinsing these, but I didn't grab a second container, so let's see if we can put that one on the same general area. Let's go and take this out of the water for a sec, which corals for the most part, they're okay for us a little bit out. Love the light arm. Thanks, Michael. When I was building the tank, I literally probably took me like a month to figure out how to build this light arm so it would suspend and not sag at all and support the weight of 4 different pucks. Where'd you get the light arm? I made it out of extruded aluminum. So it's made out of 1.5 inch aluminum. Now I am getting a new warranty tank in the future, so I'm thinking possibly ways to tweak it. So I think I'm going to reuse the same light arm, but right now I have it bolted to the side of the stand. I think on the new one I'm going to try and get a square tube vertically in the center, and I can drop the light arm into it. That should free up a little more tank space. So hopefully that one works out well. So kind of in the planning stages there. Now another kind of random point to note, if you guys are using the aquascaping putty, it will use up a lot of the oxygen in your water. If you have like an ORC probe or something like that, you can definitely see like a big change or dip at the time when you add the putty. So the skimmer may go nuts for a bit, but you'll definitely see it will affect your pH and it will drop after doing this. So just kind of a random thing to kind of keep in mind. I'm probably using quite a bit of it for one day, but usually I try not to do too much of it all in the same day. So kind of a little random tip to keep in mind. Actually, out of curiosity, we'll take a look at the apex and we'll see how much the pH has changed after adding all this putty in a little while. Now I might actually try putting a chunk of this on the opposite side. Now, right now, we just see the one side of the tank. It's against the wall. But in the future, I am thinking I might, like the tank's going to be upstairs in peninsula mode, so you're actually going to see the opposite side of the aquascape. So I really got to start considering what I'm putting on the other side, and new corals put on the back side of the tank that you won't see just because you'll see it one day in the future. Left the Kessel lights on manual, lights run for over 48 hours. Ooh, yikes. Yeah, so with Kessels, yeah, that's the big thing with Kessels. If you're playing with the settings in the menu, they don't change or they don't default back to normal until you hit like OK, save it, or get rid of that. So you definitely, with Kessel, you gotta watch out that if you're playing with settings, you put it back when you're finished, or else it could be trouble. I've heard that happen to a lot of people now. So I've never actually had Kessels myself, but I've heard it enough times. What's going on, Krager's Aquarium? Welcome, welcome. All right, where should we put this guy? All right, so the other arm is going on the back side of one of these little overhangs. Hopefully we got enough putty underneath it to keep it in place. You're doing little jet outs too. You gotta hopefully find like a little hole in the rock or something to kind of at least half hold it for you. All right, so that guy's hopefully in there. All right, so we got a little chunk of the red planet. Where'd that go? Somewhere in here. This one is, I think this is the red planet. So a little tiny chunk of the red planet. What's going on? Just my fishy. What's going on, Ash? Have to frag your wife. Good luck. Reef community worldwide. You need subs, 1,000. Real reefers by February 20th. Start pumping out the videos there, buddy. It's all about the content. Honestly, when people ask and they say they need, more subscribers or they're trying to build up, you just keep making videos. It's all about the videos. If you make lots of good quality videos, subscribers shall come. So pump out some more videos there, Paul. Fish are better on 720p. Ooh, I haven't done it, but I don't know what I'm outputting this one. I think it's 1080. Another good chunk. So the random thing is too, when I had this few STN, it's not everything. It's literally just a couple corals in this general vicinity. Now Paul has been using that 460 stuff with weekly basis, great results in his tank. And it did get rid of all my cyano, so that was one definitely plus side to it. Okay, what else do we need to frag? This guy might be a good candidate for the nano since I broke him off anyways. Yeah, Ed, do it up. A stage 2 for free. Yes, Ed, definitely take it. No hesitation. Just do it. Now, the one I've been debating fragging is this guy. We have this giant chalice. Like, this thing is a beast. Let me hold it lower. So, this guy's actually been on my to frag list for a while now. It's starting to grow over the side and sting my rainbow monty and some of my other corals. So I think we're actually going to try and frag this guy once I just find something to settle on. Now, ideally, we should be using like a proper saw, but I don't have one. So we might do this the getaway. Let me just find a plastic container or something to put all the liquid on. I'll be back 1 sec. And hopefully this works out well. Alright guys, so fragging. Still no link. I posted the Hangouts link to the Facebook group. I don't know if anyone checked it in there or if it works, but it might. Comment on your post. Won't let you in. Okay. Let's try. Michael, so it still doesn't work. Paul, Facebook group, not seeing it. Okay, I'm gonna try this link one more time and try that. I don't know. Aside from there, maybe we could start using Skype or I don't know. I might try finding another service to see how that works. All right, so we have a nice big chunk of chalice. Wonder if I can make it brighter in here. Better close up. Okay, so and I got another light so you guys can actually see what's going on. Okay, so battery's dead. Let me grab a fresh battery for the light, and then we'll be good. So it doesn't look like the Hangout's working, so I don't know. I think in the future I might try using Skype or something else. Google Hangouts hasn't cooperated for the last little while. And there we go. All right, so Ghetto Fragging 101. So, okay, first things first. Ideally, if you have a saw, use a proper saw. If you don't have one, you can absolutely use frag cutters. Most important thing is you want to cut around the eyes. That's by far the biggest thing. Each eye is kind of like a mouth in a sense. So you want to make sure that there's at least a mouth in every piece or two. I'm probably going to go for a bit bigger frags. Whatever I can get that is hanging off of the edge. Now, main reason for fragging this is because it is stinging at a bunch of my other corals. Now, chalices can definitely be a little nasty, but they're beautiful corals. Now, I'm going to go grab a bucket of fresh water to give these a rinse. as well afterwards. Now, it's also a good idea to have a razor blade just to cut off any extra flesh if it doesn't come off right away. So I'll grab one of those. All right, so get a bucket for some water to rinse. Put the frags in / rinsing. And we also have a razor blade to cut it off. See you in a bit, Ash. Now getting lots of slime coat off this guy. He's not a happy camper right now. Nice big frag. Yeah, and I can see on the rainbow Monty, see how it's all white and dead from the tentacles of this guy stinging. Now on that one, see I can feel it broke underneath. It's just the flesh on top. So this guy, let's get a fresh new razor blade. And I'm going to try and cut along the top of that seam. Again, making sure you avoid any of the eyes. Let the chunk off. All right, so that's a big chunk out. Now you can see all that dead stuff that was all rainbow Monty that got stung and killed by the chalice. So this guy definitely needs a good trimming. Check the chat again in a minute once I get this couple more chunks fragged up. This fragging this guy's been on my to-do list for months now, so kind of a good thing to finally get to it. Now, if you look on the underside too, you can kind of see the old plate and where it's grown over top. So it gives you a bit of an idea of where it's decently safe to frag. And again, pay attention to where the eyes are and make sure you cut around them. Now the other thing too, I also want to make sure these aren't like straight lines and edges. You still want to look fairly natural. At least when it's back in your tank, that's what I shoot for. Fortunately, that one cracked a bit too much. But it goes to show fragging really isn't that hard to do. I'm going to put a bunch of these onto frag discs and let them heal up in my sump for a couple weeks. And dodge the eyes. Tons of slime coat. Does not like being out of the water. Okay, now that looks pretty good. At least I've got fragged off all the stuff that was immediately going down and killing stuff. And okay, give this guy a good rinse and we'll get it back in the water. Now this guy is a Miami Hurricane. Now most of the time you see this guy and he is much more like this guy just loves higher light, which is kind of crazy because a lot of the time I see them on the sand bed lower light, but he's like absolutely exploded since I had him so high up in the tank. No gloves, no eye protection. Yeah, if I have an open wound or a cut or something, then yes, I will use gloves. But if I'm just doing like hard SPS, I don't really worry about it. It's mainly only Zoas for me. I mean, you should probably be using gloves, eye protection for everything, but as a general rule, but I feel, fairly safe in most stuff. Just don't be rubbing your eyes after. Make sure you wash your hands over. Like, you gotta use all the common sense type of stuff on that one. Now I gotta find the frag discs somewhere. Maybe somewhere. All right, so we got a few coral frag discs. I always get them wet first because the chalice or the super glue sticks to it much better when it's wet. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little chunks. How long will it take to recover? I usually a week or two on average. I just in case, like I'll probably sell these little chunks of it. So I like to leave it in my tank for, a few weeks. I might even leave it for a month just to be 100% sure, make sure they're starting to grow over. Just because I would hate to sell one to somebody and then have it die later. Oh, one might be done. For fragging, Gorilla Glue Super Glue Gel. This is what I always tend to be my go-to. You can get it fairly cheap from the hardware store, and it works well. And thankfully, I have a new one on hand. But yeah, it's like $5, $6, $7, whatever it works out to for these. It's much cheaper than the straight up Reef branded ones. Like flat plugs as well. Yeah, I have the other plugs as well. It really depends what I'm fragging. In the sump, I do have the egg crate, so I will tend to use the little plug types if it's like a stick of SPS or something. But for chalices or any of those types of encrusting stuff, I like to use the big flat ones. And it works a bit better. Nice big gob on everyone. Now, I am going to give these a super quick dip in our Coral RX stuff that we had going on. Yeah, I love that glue. Yeah, it works very well. So, what do we got here? So, give a quick dip just to help kill any potential bits of infection on it. But yeah, I know. Always when I frag stuff, I always wait a couple weeks before I sell it just to be safe. Just to make sure the coral's fully recovered and happy. Well, basically, once you see it encrusting onto the plug, you know that it's growing and happy and good. But honestly, the main reason I'm fragging this guy is because it was starting to grow over top and sting other corals. If it wasn't doing that, I probably would have left it because it's really cool chalice. It's got amazing colors. Yeah, Jamie, great glue. It's hard to beat this stuff. And it's easy. You can find it at dollar stores. You can find it at pretty much anywhere. Most of mine comes from the hardware store. Looks like I need a few more frag plugs. "46 watching and only 24 likes. Oh my gosh. Half you guys are slacking. Yeah, definitely show the love. If you guys enjoy the randomness, hit that like button. Because it makes me happy. Hopefully you guys learned a little bit. Learned that fragging really isn't that scary. It's pretty easy to do. To be honest, this feels like a bit of a crude way to do it, just tacking it off. Proper coral saw would be amazing. One day I'll probably get one, but that will be way down the road because for the amount of fragging I do, which is minimal, it's hard to justify the expense of buying one. Now, hopefully, my Rainbow Monty is going to recover and grow back up over top of the dead tissue. There's a nice big frag. Yep, appreciate it, Mr. Michael. So, let's see if these show up. But super pretty frags. It's even really showing up, so make it wider. Yeah, I'll try and see if I can get a shot of the reef tank in a sec and show you guys what they actually look like in the tank. There you go. But yeah, that's the Miami Hurricane. So this is the guy that is fragged up. I know the colors don't really do it justice, but it's more of like a light baby blue with like orange yellow eyes. It just looks super crazy. So very, very pretty. I'll see if I can change the colors once I get all these frags dealt with and whiten it up to hopefully show you guys a bit better. Thank you, thank you. All right, so yeah, so main reason for fragging, one, I had a few corals that were STNing and they just really need some love, so this will hopefully save the rest of them. I mean, there's no promises it will, but it's its best chance of surviving. So these guys I'm just putting into the sump now. Let's move the camera over. Check them candy canes. Those candy canes could actually use a fragging as well. Those guys are getting huge. 7 fell asleep. Ay, ay. Yeah, those candy canes are getting crazy. They're massive. Now I do have, gotta make some space in the frag section now. If you guys, I don't know how many of you guys ever used Callirpa. I had one little chunk. Let me turn on my frag so I can show you guys this. What's going on, Ricky? I had one little chunk of Callirpa in my sump that was underneath my frag rack ages ago. When I went to Mexico to get married and came back, all of a sudden I was like, what is this giant string in my tank? I was like, what the heck? See, it just seemed really weird out of nowhere because I forgot it was even under there, and now it's literally taken over my frag section. So that stuff grows like crazy. It's supposed to be awesome for nutrient removal. I've heard some people, they kind of worry about it because it could, theoretically go sexual and spread or cause some nastiness into the tank. I haven't had that issue. It's just really going off my frag light, but it seems to be growing like crazy down there. Okay, let me move this over. Yep, fragging chalices. There, see if that works. Yep, chalice fragging day. So I got all my little chunks of frag, so I'm just trying to find homes in the sump. Generally trying to put them along the edge of the frag area just so they get a little bit lower light, at least until they heal. This guy loves light, so he can definitely take the highlight. But if you guys are planning on doing a frag section, if your sump is big enough, having your frags in your sump is an awesome way to go. You got the exact same water parameters, nothing really gets shocked, and it keeps your corals much happier, especially fresh cuts while they're healing. Okay, downfall to Clerpa. It tries to attach to your frags. So I was letting this kind of grow because I figured just a little bonus nutrient removal, but getting a little crazy down here. It's like wrapping around my SPS frags and everything else. So I'm gonna take out a couple handfuls of it. Fin time, what's going on? Worrying about fragging corals and entertaining us. Thanks, Blue Carbon Reefing. Entertainment while fragging. That figures win-win. I was almost not going to do a live stream today because I was kind of sick, but then I feel guilty if I don't do one now. I feel like I have to like stick to the weekly schedule. It's like the Reef Dude channel TV show. Pure guilt if I don't do it. So if you guys enjoy the round a bit, I apologize that the voice hangout things aren't working. It seems to be 50-50 with YouTube with that lately. A few other people are recommending Discord. I haven't used that. I think it's like a chat thing, or maybe it's a different one, but one of those team chat things. I may try that in the future to hear. You hear the new BS about YouTube? Yeah, no, I heard about that. Supposedly, if you have under a certain amount of subscribers or watch time or something like that, you can't monetize your channel. Wednesday Dev can't let us down. I agree, right? This is why I'm still here, even though I'm sick and fragging. This is something that's been driving for ages. Feature me, please. Joey, I will check out your channel later. Let's see what we got here. Ba-dum-bum-bum. Joey, you have a cat in your tank. You need to get fish in your tank. Dremel with a diamond disc. I actually have a Dremel, there's no diamond disc, but that probably would be a good future fragging tool. I will pick up a Dremel disc. I have some Dremel like diamond drill bits for making holes, but not for just doing nice clean cuts. Now this guy was one of the ones that was RTNing for the blue matrix on the base. You can get it up here, trying to find the camera. So you can see bits of tissue on the edges in the middle, which was kind of RTNing outwards. And that's kind of what started this, is me wanting to frag it, just to save the good branches. So I will throw this to my sump anyways, just in the random chance it recovers. You know, maybe just a bonus frag. Generally, we'll just make sure it has its own space and isn't touching anything else, just so there's less chance of, unlikely, but potential of spreading. Generally, I find it's not something that's necessarily contagious, per se, but still just avoid stuff touching just to make me feel better. There we go. What else should we frag while we're at it? Anything else? Sadly, that guy broke off, but this may be a future nano frag tank. Nano tank frag. Let's find a spot in here. I generally don't like using frag plugs for anything going to my own tank, just because they don't look pretty. They don't really look natural to me. But for the sake of the frag rack, sometimes I'll use them anyways, just because it makes it easier to manage it in the sump. Again, Gorilla Glue gel, let's put a little dab on it. Put your frag on it. So if this does go in my tank, I'll probably break it off again, but for now, it'll look good. Gorilla Glue will hold it there for a minute. Now, getting it wet actually activates it. So I'll usually just give it a quick little dip in the water. And if you hold it for 20, 30 seconds, it's probably, yeah, so it's almost good already. It still can tend to be a little bit delicate for the first bit. So ideally, put it somewhere in a low flow area. Now, there's another chunk of something that broke off down there. Half the frags in my tank are honestly from like a tang or a fish or something smacking it and knocking it over. So a lot of the frags tend to be accidental. My fish broke it frags, so you might as well put it on a plug or put it in a frag, because then you can, you know, sell it for 10 or 20 bucks or use it in your tank somewhere else. Or if you're in the nano challenge, you got yourself some nano frags. So it's always good to try and save what you can. If you see a fish knock it off on the sand bed, you know, just take it out, take that 30 seconds and just slap it on a plug. Now in here, underneath, so I'm trying to, sometimes the other kind of trick I do too, if it hasn't fully cured, I'll put it right on the edge so it bounces against the glass. That kind of holds the frag, and I can come back like half an hour later and just move it over. Invested $1,300 on a camera. Take my $42 a year. Buggers, eh? I feel you, man. Seriously, I have spent more on cameras and equipment to make videos than I've probably ever made off of videos. So it's definitely a long-term love of doing it type of thing. Definitely in it for the long haul, and you have to have fun doing it. And I always tell people that. Don't expect to make a fortune off doing any videos. You gotta really enjoy it, and long term, eventually, you know, so hopefully something good comes out of it. That's my theory, at least. Hi, Joey. I tried fragging Zoas. 2 frags survived. Okay, Zoas. You know, you want to make sure you trim them. What I always try and do with Zoas, if I'm fragging it off a rock, I'll try and take a razor blade or like a scalpel and go underneath and try and scrape the rock off with it. Like every one of our corals are alive, so you want to, you know, do what you can to lessen the impact on them. Super tiny little frag. Yeah, every coral is pretty much an animal. You know, every polyp is kind of like an animal that's interconnected. Think of it like a hotel, and each head's a little animal. Roll up the sleeves. Candy cane. Do I want to frag this? This guy is huge. He's getting proper big. Let's go back up a bit. Yeah, this guy is massive. I've been on the fence if I should frag him or not. Might just frag off the one lower branch. Has a ton of heads on it. Candy cane, same thing. Super easy to frag. You literally just anything that's a branching, like wall hammers and those guys are more of a pain. Branching ones you can pretty much just snip off at the base of a branch. What do you guys think? Should this one frag it and make it smaller? It is pretty darn densely packed. Just the question is, do I just want to cut off this one little corner head, or do I want to cut off the whole branch, do a bigger chunk of it off? Too, when I'm deciding what to frag, you got to kind of look underneath and see what's all connected. Like it almost looks like some are growing together. Let's do a bigger frag and see. Hopefully it's okay. Let's see what happens. That was a really big frag. Okay, so this guy's going back into its home. Still looks huge up there. This guy came off, and those are some pretty darn big frags still, so I might make a couple smaller frags out of this one. Remove the rock and cut if that's an option. Yeah, if you can take the rock out, it definitely makes your life easier. Yeah, Trump's easy to sell, and these guys are super duper bright. So they're always good little candidates. Usually I only frag corals though if it's like accidental frag, or if I'm trying to fund something. If I want to buy a new reef toy, I usually frags are kind of how I help pay for it. There we go. So there you go. Just snip that guy at the base. Now we have 3 really big frags actually. Like those are pretty decent tropical coral frags. So I just got to find a spot in the sump to actually fit them. And we'll be golden. I have a super tiny chunk of red dragon I got in the stump off a buddy a while ago, and it's still going strong, so that's awesome to see. I've been after that coral for ages. Don't know why, but it's just one I've wanted. It's nice to have that pop of red. But I think it might be time to migrate it to the reef tank. With the trumpet coral, since they got a nice little stick base, I just poke it in between the egg crate. Makes it nice, easy to hold it in there. Red dragon. So it survived a couple weeks in the tank, or in the sump. So I'm going to see if I can find a spot for it. I wish I could show the colors better, but this guy is nice, kind of nice brighty reddy pink. Super cool coral. So let's just put this little guy in here and hopefully he does okay. The other one I was half debating is fragging this hammer just because he's massive. Again, just going to turn it upside down, let the heads close up a bit, and to see if there's any easy ones to frag. Like the one at the back here, I can probably cut off just to make it not as thick. And there is a ton of heads on it. So I think I'm going to frag that guy. Yeah, so definitely branching's nice and easy to deal with. But yeah, I think just the one. I still like this guy to be big, but it's not giant. Boom, just like that, we fragged the hammer. Now he'll be thinner and closer to the rock and free up a little more sandbed space. So you always want to kind of consider the space it takes up and what space you want back. Now we have 4 heads of hammer, and they're starting to split, so that's going to be more like 6 heads soon. That was a nice big chunk you can sell or give to your friend or whatever you want to do with it. Get these guys in here. The hardest part of this is pretty much just trying to find space to put it all once you actually get into the sump here. Make sure there's enough space between him and some of the euphyllias and the other stuff down here. And hopefully, so the stem on this guy's a little too big. It doesn't quite play nicely. I don't want it to touch the euphyllias or the stuff beside or the trumpet corals. So let's just try to find a spot to fit him where he'll be happy and not fight. Should be good. All right, what's going on in the chat? Aussie Elegance, it's from Darrett. What did I join? This has been a frag party, yo. Doing all kinds of fragging today. And saved a bunch of my corals that were having some warfare. I don't know if I saved them. They're probably pretty mad that I chopped them off, but. So welcome, Mr. O. Freed up a bunch. Lots of my corals are slamming right now. They're definitely not happy after I just chopped off a ton of stuff. Now the one downfall. See, everyone's already subscribed to your channel. But fragging with wet hands is a pain to use your phone afterwards. How big are those bone cutters? Can you show them on the screen? Sure can. They're not super big. They're kind of, see, like hand size. Yeah, so they're just like, I don't know, I'd just call them normal sizes. I've seen little dinky tiny ones. These are a decent size. I was going to try and turn my Refugium light, but my phone does not want to enter the password for Fusion with wet fingers. Downfall of touchscreens. Yeah, not happening. So let's just bring the camera down anyways. All right, so I got all the little chunks of chalice. Just got them into the kind of side of my area down here in my frag section. Did not light down. So just got them all into the edge. Got all the trumpet and hammers and all the other stuff in there. So got it all in there. You can see how much space that freed up. See if you can see vertically. With that hammer, that thing was, almost touching the glass. So fragging those few pieces off let me suck it back. And it opened up all that extra bit of sand bed there. So that was kind of my main goal with that guy. The chalice definitely got hacked up a little bit there, but you can see all the white, like he was killing my 2 chunks of Monty, and mainly what was bugging me was that Rainbow Monty. So he was stinging that guy. So he got toned way back on the sides that were touching other corals. And then we also fragged that green trumpet coral up a bit. He was getting pretty big. So hopefully it's enough to stop a bunch of the coral warfare, open up my tank a bit more, and have a bit more space. Now, one thing when you are fragging up corals, I just put actually you guys probably just saw the somatic video I did the other day. So running carbon afterwards is a good thing because it's going to help absorb any of those nasty chemicals that some of the corals might release. Generally, if they're fighting each other, you kind of get that coral warfare. And that's one of the things that carbon will help do. So I have fresh carbon in my tank as of the other day. So that should help with a good chunk of that stuff. Now, another thing too, I also use Ozone. People actually want to ask me about Ozone updates all the time. I get those questions a lot. So with the Ozone, that also helps break down any of those kind of chemical warfare stuff. So it kind of hits it from 2 different approaches. Just opposite with me. Blue carbon reefing. What did you use to dip? So to dip, ideally, one should use like an iodine dip or something along those lines. I don't have iodine, so I used Revive. That's what I had on hand, and it's supposed to help with a lot of that stuff. So Revive was to hopefully clean it up. Ozone. So people ask me about Ozone all the time, so I might as well give a quick update. Ozone's still working great. I use it on a very small amount for 3 or 4 hours a night. And the Ozone, let me take this out. camera to her. Yeah. So let me plug the laptop so I can move it. Okay, so my ozone hangs on the side of my tank. I got a little ozone generator right there. There's a little tube on the bottom that goes into my skimmer. We got two different tubes here. So this one is drawing air from outside. So this goes all the way outside. It's my little fresh air. Helps pump up the pH. This other tube over here goes to the ozone generator. So that gets sucked into my skimmer. And I can see the skimmer, it's all the bubbles crash, whatever. It's going to freak out for a little bit because we just use so much aquascaping putty. So that's going to be, the skimmer's going to be buggery for a bit. But that's normal. Now I'm curious to check out the apex in a bit because I know it's going to have dropped my pH usually quite a bit when you use aquascaping putty. So I'm just really curious to see the difference. So in here there's all our chalice frags. Those are those two SPS sticks I glued on. We got the trumpets over there, and we got the other euphyllia over there. That was the hammer. Okay, what's going on? I want to add a chalice. I heard their stings are crazy. Yeah, chalices can be very pretty, but yes, they're very mean. It's probably, honestly, if any coral gets in a fight, the chalice is likely the one that's going to win. Like, they're tough little buggers. But, I mean, some of them are very pretty. Like, if you look at, you kind of see, like, that's the Miami Hurricane I just fragged up. Like, beautiful chalice. And this guy, and normally chalices are low light, so this is the one that still kind of cracks me up with this guy. He gets so much light and he grows like crazy. So super cool coral, but yeah, very mean. So just make sure you leave space. When I put him up there, initially when I put him up here, if you see that little square, that's how big he was. So he's pretty tiny. You can kind of see the bumps of the original plug. But now he's the only one that's high up, like my other chalices. I just got a couple little dinky guys, but they're just small and kind of hidden in the lower cracks in the tank somewhere down there. That's a cool one. I don't know if it shows up. That's a gold Bangle torch. It's kind of gold tips and like purple base. That's a super cool guy. Got that one from a buddy, and he says it was a fortune. So it's growing very well and splitting my tanks. I'm happy about that. Other super cool one that I'm really love lately is the Utter Chaos. Same one, super cool guy. That's been growing like mad in my tank. So definitely gonna probably put a few of those in the nano, and hopefully they grow fast in there as well. Then the lights are off, and hopefully it's in there. But I had a really cool Zoa that was purple. It was called a Space Monster, I believe. That guy is really cool color, so I hope that one does well. All right, let me check the chat and see what all I'm missing here as I'm walking around with the camera. That's what I use you for dip. Getting some free education. No problem, buddy. That's what it's all about. Now for the other one I use for dipping, Coral RX is another one I use a lot. That works pretty well. So I've honestly used that and Revive almost interchangeably. Both work well. And it's kind of one where I'll just grab whatever one's closer, or sometimes I'll, if I'm worried about something, I might give it a bath of one, then a bath of another one. For gluing stuff to the rocks, I generally use this stuff. I've tried tons of putties, and this is the one I find works the best so far, D&D Aquascape Putty. I've used other ones. Some of them I find they just don't hold very well. Like I know like there's the Fluval and a few other ones I tried, and I find the bond's not very good. It just breaks off too easy, and then it's annoying because you got to re-glue it and deal with that stuff. So yeah, a little purple box. It's only like $10 for a box of it. And I've used copious amounts of it in this tank when I was gluing rocks and putting corals on and different things. Now, saying if you guys are fragging stuff too to sell it the future thing, yeah, $25 a polyp for outer chaos. I've seen it go as high as $50 a polyp. That stuff is crazy. But to be honest, I don't think I really want to sell any because I love the look of it. I'd love it to just keep covering the rock. It's one of those zoas that I don't mind if I'd almost want it to be more invasive because you get such beautiful colors on it. Another thing too, if you guys are using fragging tools like this or using razors, always rinse that stuff off afterwards. Otherwise, there's a good chance it could rust on you and then it is useless. There's nothing worse than trying to frag with something when the hinge is all rusted and it barely moves. So definitely make sure you guys always give that stuff a rinse afterwards. Just give mine a quick rinse right now. It's ready to roll for you next time you get back to it. Now, the real kind of question is hopefully all that fragging we did will save those couple corals that were STNing. So I'll let you guys know in a future video if it actually worked and saved it. One of the tips that crews gave me previously was to super glue the flesh that was coming off, and I did do that, and it did definitely slow it down, but it was still doing it, so that's why I did it. Where's the eye protection? It is in my office. Not where it should be on my eyes. Now, if you cut stuff underwater, I tend to not worry as much about splashing. Mainly zoas. I mean, zoas are the ones that have palitoxins. Those are what you worry about most. So yes, you should be wearing them. Local fish store, 45 bucks a polyp for utter chaos. Yeah, they're definitely up there. And I started with, I think, 4 polyps. Now there's like, what do you got? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's probably at least 30 polyps there. And I started with 4 or 5 a few months ago. So they've been exploding in my tank. I love it in here, which is awesome to see. Is there anything else we want to frag today? I think we're running out of fragging stuff. Just gonna save this little toadstool from my torch that somehow got up to. Do any of you guys have your tangs move stuff around? My hippo tang will pick up corals and rocks or anything small and loose and like take it for a joyride in the tank and drop it somewhere else. Completely random. I don't know if this one probably doesn't show up. It's kind of another cool one. They're called blue-eyed blondes. I had 2 of those now. I think there's 3, 6, 7 on there, so they're growing fairly well. Still pretty tiny, but they should be cool as they grow. They're good to the Aussie reefers. All right, I should probably take another chunk. Oh, one of our corals fell down. Another thing you can do is use super glue to mount stuff. It's got to watch out it doesn't become too messy when you get it in there. Now, the one I had a little dab of that stuff on came off, and this was a little chunk of red planet. So I'm just going to move him back up and put that little chunk of super glue into the other glue. Now this coral is still one, I already rinsed my pliers, but this was the one that was still RTNing or STNing a little bit from the side. So I'm going to chop another chunk off and just glue it up like I did higher on the rock too. So in case I do lose that colony, then I'll still have some. So we'll see if we can get off first and hopefully some good chunks of it. All right, so we got this off now. This one I'm just gonna try super gluing it up and see if I can get it in a hole. It's gonna be in the same general areas of the colony. So as long as it doesn't die, if it makes it, it will spread out a bit and hopefully it'll just join back up eventually. Frag, frag, frag. It's like Frag Fest today. So super exciting news. I think my nano tank is finally shipped. Yay! I got a shipping notice today and I'm fairly certain it's for the nano. So I'm stoked about that guy. Not gonna lie, I've been jealous seeing you guys set up your nanos and I'm like, no, I don't have it yet. Just itching to get it. So that'll be pretty sweet if that shows up, hopefully for next week. I do have my little 7-gallon Pico Reef that's been set up and working. That's been my temporary tank just to hold the little tiny fish that I've been stocking up. So, Meldium, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. My bubble tip anemones looks like it's getting close to splitting. It's starting to get that figure 8 type of shape. That'll be kind of funky when that guy splits. I don't know if I want a nano in the nem or not, or a nano in the anemone in the nano tank or not. We'll see on that one. All right, got 2 chunks of planet. We fragged that guy off. Got a chunk on each side. Blue matrix, same thing. I fragged all those branches off the center base that was going down. Spread the ones out. What you end up doing for the nano stocking? Delton, that's still in the works. My main goal with the nano. The next one on my list I'm trying to find is called Flaming Prong Goby, or the technical name's like a Geringer Goby. Super duper duper tiny. It's kind of overly priced for how tiny it is, but they're super cool. I've always wanted one. But I'm basically trying to find all fish that are like 2 inches or less. Like 2.5 is the max. So it's just going to be set up of purely super tiny nano fish. Then I think that will give it kind of a cool, bigger scale. And then you kind of appreciate all the little creatures that you don't normally see. Like I got a pom-pom crab in there, a couple sexy shrimp. So I don't have a full absolute plan yet. As for corals, I still haven't figured that out either. It's likely just going to be a mixed reef. I originally thought about doing a rock flower tank, which would look awesome, but at the same time, rock flowers can get very expensive, and it would probably bankrupt me trying to do that. So it's likely just going to be a mixed reef of that. For stocking for fish is literally just going to be whatever I find that's cool and stays super tiny. If I put some of those little tiny fish in this tank, they'd probably get lost and you'd never see them. So I want a Yasha Goby. Yasha's really cool. I would leave it, Dev. What would you leave, Ash? Clean up the edges. So I think things are looking pretty good now. We got one part where these two corals here, it's that purple acro and whatever that green one is, just kind of bridged together. Looks like they're holding hands for a while. I think one of them's starting to die a little bit though from that. Probably fighting. Doesn't look too bad though, so we'll see. Hopefully it stops there. I don't think there's anything else that needs to be fragged at the moment. I do have this guy that's kind of a tealy blue millie that is kind of dead there at the bottom. It may have been from the corals right beside it fighting it. So I'm going to keep an eye on that one for the next little bit and see how it changes. This guy, the Hawkins Enchinata, he's tends to be a fairly delicate one. A fish swims by and that one almost makes frags on its own. He did it. It's done. Yeah, they're slimy. They've already been fragged. There's lots of slime coming off these guys. If really, if something's STNing or LTNing, this originally started because some of these corals were, I used potentially a bacteria product that my tank apparently didn't like. It was a couple of my corals were STNing, and it's been like this for over like a week, week and a half or so. And it was slowly getting whiter off the base, slowly growing. I tried super gluing some of them, and it slowed it down, but it was still slowly getting worse. So I'm fragging them as more of a precaution. So I don't want to lose a whole colony. Like this guy was like huge. Like there's the other half. Oh, it fell down. Good thing I looked. So I mean, like this was just one branch of it. Like two of those. Like so, there's huge things. Like it'd be devastated to lose that big colony. So by fragging something that's RTNing, you chop off, you frag it above, like ideally, a good half an inch above where it was STNing, and you're kind of in a sense trying to save the good chunk. So it's not that I wanted to frag it, it's just that I feel it's the best chance of saving these couple, gorgeous colonies that I don't want to lose. So it was more out of necessity and trying to give it long-term hope. And I just knocked my super glue into the sump. Lovely. Okay, so I think I got that one back up. Pretty sure I got all the chunks picked up now. LPS are slowly opening up. That's a good sign. Yeah, what's going on, Mel? Okay, I need a bit more putty because that one keeps falling down. The one harder part with some of the aquascaping putty, if you're trying to suspend a bigger colony, it's a lot of weight pulling downwards on it. So you got to use a good chunk of putty, or hopefully have a little nook or something you can kind of half poke it into to hold it. So my one big arm did fall down again, so I'm gonna reinforce it with a bit more putty. ReefDudes, do you ski or snowboard? I snowboard. I'm thinking about trying skiing one day just for fun. I haven't done it in many, many, many years. Lost your red planet, red dragon. Oh no, yeah, that sucks, Hammy. So yeah, I mean, two things you can try. If it is STNing, try either A, putting super glue around where the skin's coming off and hopefully that kind of contains and stops it, or B, just frag it, try and get at least a quarter of an inch. I shoot for half an inch above where the STNing is, so you're fragging good tissue and not the part that's infected or having the issue. Yeah, no one really seems to know what causes RTN or STN, which is kind of one of the hard parts. I wish we did, because it would make life easier in dealing with it or preventing it, but it is a mystery. Something happens the coral doesn't like, and it might even be like a polyp bailout type of thing, right? Like maybe it's the coral's stressed, so it's trying to get rid of some chunk that's stressed. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely a mystery. So all you can really do is try and save the good bits. There, he's a lot more putty, so hopefully that one holds it. Just made a tiny accidental frag. We'll throw that up here. Maybe it'll grow. Mostly related to elk swings, but who knows? Yeah, so my elk is pretty stable. I've never had more than like a half a point swing. It's usually like 0.2, 0.3 difference max over the week or two. So I don't really think, at least in my tank, I don't think it's anything elk related because it's such a slow change in mine. I test my elk, once a week or, even if it's 2 weeks and it's never more than like 0.2 or 0.3. So there's never any giant swings. But yeah, big elk swings are probably one of the biggest things that will annoy your SPS in the tank. Okay, so hopefully it looks like we got everything that needs fragging fragged. Oh, another frag. Another thing I do sometimes too usually something to do with stress is causing it. Might be toxins in the air. Yeah, it really is hard to say. Sometimes too, I just ripped off this one. It's like a Superman encrusting mod here, something like that. It's already encrusted all the rock around it. So I literally just popped off the original frag. There you go, insta-frag. And now it's going to be on that rock and encrust around it, and I can throw this chunk into the sump, and it will heal eventually. Then I have this extra frag I can do something with. So same thing like with the nano tank. Like I know there's supposed to be like a 1 inch frag for Zoas or whatever. So right in the center of those two rocks is my original frag discs for the other chaos. So I might just pop that disc out and then I have a frag I can throw in my other tank. Because that little disc is hiding underneath the coral. So a few different kind of things you can do with it. After you're done fragging, always make sure you wash your hands and clean up, rinse all your tools off, get all the salt water for everything, which I'm doing beside the camera. So I'll check the chat in a second, but if you guys have any random questions about the tank itself or fragging or that type of stuff, let me know and I'll hopefully give you guys some answers. Just rinsing off all my tools. Rinse off the fraggers just so that they don't rust up. All right, back. Question remains that she did open the bedroom door and skyrocketed. If you have a lot of carbon dioxide in the air, it will 100% lower your pH. Like if I open a window, like I'll see my pH jump way up. Apex bombarded with me alerts. Yeah, pH of 9 is pretty high. The other question you might want to ask yourself too is when's the last time you calibrated that probe? 9 seems pretty high. Okay, let's take a look at my fusion. I'm really curious to see if the ORP or pH had a big skydive after adding all that putty to the tank, because I feel like I added a fair amount. pH didn't change much. ORP sky bomb, dive bombed. Check that out. There, you can see with the ORP, there's like a huge drop since I started doing that. So it's like dive bombed. So ORP definitely takes a big hit when using this stuff. What that basically tells me, ORP is your oxidation reduction potential. Probably saying that wrong. But basically, the cleanliness of your water, we added all this putty, and it makes like a big smoke storm essentially in the tank. You can see all that powdery haze, looks like smoke. And all that stuff's, in a sense, dirtying up the water to a certain extent. Yeah, so Melda, what is your normal pH? Because 9.2 is way up there. But yeah, normally 8.4 is kind of the upper end that most people shoot for in terms of pH, is during that 8 to 8.3, 8.4 type of range. Yeah, 9 seems crazy high. To be honest, I would really look at potentially recalibrating your probe just in case. pH probes do tend to drift over time, and this, you should try and calibrate it every like 4 months or so, 3 or 4 months, anyways. Haley, I don't know what's going on, but hopefully she's okay. In the winter, the pH is 7.8. Yeah, in the winter, usually people's pHs are much lower because the windows are shut, your home's not breathing. In the summertime, all the windows, everything are open, is a lot higher. That was my old Innovative Marine glass lid. So it makes a good shelf if you're working on the tank. Then you have a little shelf to put all your stuff on. Comes in kind of handy. Still fighting to get her home. Yikes. Good luck on that one, Haley. Sorry to hear about your mom. But yeah, no, definitely, a little shelf across your tank can come in very handy. It gives you somewhere to put frags and stuff. If you're doing tests or whatever, it gives you a little work area. So just an old tank lid comes in handy. Yeah, lots of slime coming off. Just spritzing it with just a little blast of water just to help clear out some of it. Stay away from the product. Stay away from what product? What type of lights am I running? These are Radeon XR15 Gen 4s, and I also have the diffuser on them. Absolutely love the lights. I had Radeon Gen 3s for a while. They're XR15s. Most people, yeah, don't use any products to play with your pH. pH is something you don't want to chase. It's just a bad idea. So avoid any of those products. The lights on the tank. So these are Ecotech XR15s Pros. They used to have the Gen 3s. I recently sold them all and upgraded to Gen 4s, and I added the diffusers. Diffusers are a super cool product. It's hard to see on camera, but it gives you a much more subtle shimmer everywhere, and it also gives you kind of a more even blanket of light. If you look at them, it's kind of somewhere in the middle of a T5 and an LED look. So LEDs are more contrasty. They're more of a point light source coming down, where T5s are like a big strip blanket. Now, the plus side with LEDs is they give you kind of more contrast, you get better color pop. T5s are a little bit better for growing because you have more light everywhere rather than just a point source. Now, the diffusers help spread out that point source, so it gives it more of an even blanket apart and get more of a blanket of light. So you lose a little bit of contrast, but you get more of that fill light. So it works pretty well. So I've been super happy with those. Now, another question I see pop up a lot is XR15 or XR30. XR30 is good for either a really wide tank. So if your tank's like 30 inches wide or something, then having one of those will give you that little bit of extra spread. Now, if you have 2 feet or less, then I would say XR15 is kind of the way to go. Now, the only kind of caveat to that is it also depends on how deep the tank is. Like same thing, like a 2 foot or less tank, XR15s, if you don't need that extra penetrating power. The double pucks of the 30 will let you penetrate deeper into the water, so it kind of works out better for a deeper tank. But personally, I like with the 15s that I can spread the pucks further apart rather than being like that, so it gives me more of a blanket of light over the tank. They say you lose 25% of par with the diffusers. I would say it's closer to 10%. I had my lights at 45% prior to diffusers, and after adding them, I think they bumped them up to about 54, 55%, somewhere around there. Let me just take a quick look at EcoSmart Live and see what I have them set to. So yeah, I'm gonna say closer to 10, 15 maybe on the high end, but yeah, I'd say probably closer to 10. What's going on? Just my fish? So if I go to my light schedule, yeah, they're at 54%, and they're previously at 45%. 8.5 is okay. Keep an eye on. Yeah, I'm assuming you're talking about alkalinity. Or no, pH is 8.5. So 8.5 is definitely on the higher side. I wouldn't want it to go too high above that. But again, if you're using an elk or a pH probe, I would probably just give that one a fresh calibration just to double check and make sure it's properly tuned in. Murphy's Reef and what's going on? I actually have it on my. I'm overdue for calibrating my probe one of these days. Murphy it up. Yeah, I see some other side stuff going on in the chat, which I haven't quite caught at all since I've been moving around. Not fully watching the chat, but give me one sec. I'm actually just reminding me. I'm going to see if I have any calibrations for the pH probe. What did we get? pH is 7. We have 9. Point 7, 7.